Hello there, and we're looking at chapter 16 now, our final chapter in this book, and it's called Morals and Motivation. Now here we have an example of let's say unethical behavior. We it looks it looks like maybe some kind of a cactus or something, and humans are definitely defacing the cactus and putting that they were there on there almost like a form of graffiti. I would guess this would be very unethical behavior. And here we have a response to unethical behavior. So on the idea that, and this was actually a protester in Hawaii um, for unethical packaging. The chicken was scalded alive, so boycott McDonald's and cruelty as a result. So with these as introductions, this chapter talks about how are ethical decisions made, is any behavior unselfish, and what are the implications of selfishness on appropriate environmental policy. And when firms and humans do they rely strictly upon the market and um, or their individual selfish needs and have the market be a brake on their behavior, or or can there be other um, ethical guidelines for one's behavior, and especially how one's behavior impacts this thing called the environment. Here we have some not economic, but normative ethical theories. And normative ethical theories, human behavior is motivated by our objectives. We as economists normally assume that rational individuals maximize something known as a subjective utility function that places weights on everything from, as they say here, the number of apples people consume to the welfare of other people, environment, wildlife, and future generations. And what we economists do, and this is especially in, if some of you go on into our field, the intermediate microeconomics, this utility function, looking at at the utility. Utility is a word for satisfaction that one gets from these various things, and the weights are all subject. If they're in decimals, they would be all subject to adding up to one. And what my action is dependent upon a lot of different things that determines whether I'm going to do the action or not. Now, there are various theories of ethical behavior, and we'll talk about them each in turn. There is ethical egoism, which is more what we would call individualism. Utilitarianism, which is to steward the greatest good for the greatest number of people. The common good. The welfare of individuals is inextricably bound to the good of the community. Virtue, and that which is the prize and end of the virtue may be the best thing of them all. So it's the idea that if a person pursues virtuous behavior, it's because they're a virtuous person. Rights, which is the morality of an action. And finally, justice, which looks at fairness and justice as measures of morality. Now, at the very beginning of your chapter here, your author talks about teleological or consequentialist theories of ethical egoism, utilitarianism, and the common good. And these focuses on the consequences of actions upon others. Whereas the deontological or non-consequentialist ethical theories of rights, justice, and virtue focus us on the duties and of intentions of the decision maker themselves. So, I guess it would be the first three looks at your actions upon others, and the last three would be looking at you yourself. Okay, that's going to end this first section of this final chapter, chapter 16.